Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Hope you all have had a great Wednesday. We're going to talk about the tropics, just like we have the last few videos. I've been talking about the fact that they are heating up. Well, it is definitely a confirmed thing that they are definitely heating up, with 3 areas of interest by the National Hurricane Center out here in the tropical Atlantic. Now, I will mention that 2 of them likely will not develop. One probably will develop, and I'm really starting to think that it is going to develop into what will be the next named storm, which would be Fred. So it would be Tropical Storm Fred. That is my thinking right now, based off what I've seen today, especially this evening's runs, and just based off the confidence of development from the National Hurricane Center, which I will show you in a second. So these are the couple areas of interest. There's one area right here. There's a Vort Max somewhere in here that's going to continue to dwindle away as it kind of drifts into cooler waters. And then there's an area right here that's really, it's just not going to make it. There's a little bit of a very, very broad kind of rotation, but this is going to dwindle away too, probably get sheared apart. But before we get deep into this video, if you guys have not hit the subscribe button, much appreciated if y'all do. Y'all's support is amazing. We're about to enter some very active times. I really think there's a favorable MJO shifting into the Atlantic that really is going to promote tropical development. So I think the tropics are going to be a very big time topic over the next several weeks. I make videos every day. Mainly in the evenings, but sometimes I do it 2 times a day, especially when there's it looks like there's going to be a threat of landfall in the Caribbean islands or the United States. So definitely hit the subscribe button, follow along, like the video if you like it. Your support is definitely appreciated, and if there's anything I can pray about, definitely put it into prayers. I know COVID is starting to pick back up again, so if anybody's being affected by anything out there like that, or just in general, definitely put prayer requests down in the comments. It gives me an opportunity to pray for you guys. It gives other people an opportunity to do it also. But this is the robust tropical wave right here that we're talking about. This is definitely something we have to watch, and this is the area, the big, little higher area of interest by the National Hurricane Center. So this is what we're watching right here. So let's switch over to the National Hurricane Center and the latest from the National Hurricane Center. Now, by the time most of y'all watch this video, there will probably be an 8 p.m. update. They might have upgraded this to a 50% chance of developing in the next 5 days. So keep that in mind if you're watching this and you're thinking, hey, this is a 50% chance, not a 40% chance. Well, I made this video at, 7:15, so the next update comes out probably in the next 20, 30, 40 minutes. So this might get upgraded to a 50% chance of development, and I wouldn't be surprised at all, maybe a 60% chance. But these little areas right here are not going to be really much to talk about. I think that the chances of development will probably drop in the next 48 hours, but this will be the chance, this big old wave coming off North Africa that has the chance to develop a big time. Not big time, I'm not trying to say big time as in hype, but big time as in a more increased chance to develop. So what we're going to do here is we're going to look at the GFS. We're going to look at the GFS ensembles. We're going to look at the European ensembles, take a quick look at the Canadian and the ICON model. And then we're going to talk about the factors at bay that will promote tropical activity and that will prevent it. So definitely stick with me in this video, and we're going to break everything down in the latest up-to-date models. So stick with me in this video here. So this is the latest GFS. I do want to mention the latest GFS is a big-time fantasy run in the weather community, is what we call fantasy, as in, it's showing a big time. Now, I wouldn't say fantasy as in something that someone really wants to happen, but it's almost kind of like just a out of nowhere run almost. But at the same time, this could be a tone setter for maybe some trends that might start to begin on all models. So I will show you this, and here we go. So we'll start off Thursday morning. If you don't know what day we're at, look up here. THU stands for Thursday, obviously. And so we're going to time frame Thursday, August 5th. So just watch up here if you're wondering what day it is, and I'll try to talk y'all through it in the video also. This is the wave right here that's going to dwindle. There's going to be areas of low pressures that's going to form, and then this big time wave pops off right here. You notice this low pressure, don't look at that much. It's this one right here. This big area of green is going to start kicking off. Look at this. It develops into a low-end tropical storm maybe as early as Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, according to this GFS run. As we're getting going here in time, it strengthens. We're getting into the middle part of the tropical Atlantic, and by Monday, this looks like a low-end hurricane, maybe a high-end tropical storm. And notice it's a little bit further north, and I really think a lot of guidance wants this to be jolted north. I don't know if it's being pulled by the Monsoon trough. I don't think it has anything to do with the ridge of high pressure, because this thing is basically pushing itself as much as it can against the southern kind of border of this ridge of the Atlantic Ridge, basically. But notice it's a good bit further north. Normally, big-time tropical systems that end up affecting ultimately the Caribbean islands and the Gulf, and maybe getting to the Gulf of Mexico or curving off the southeast coast, normally are a little bit further south than this. But we're getting into Monday morning, and this thing is Tropical Storm Fred or Hurricane Fred. And it's moving here, and it weakens a little bit. There's probably a little bit cooler sea surface temperatures right here. There's a big cutoff right here, a big boundary between very warm and very promoting factors for, well, very much more favorable sea surface temperatures right here than there is kind of in this area. So this is moving here, and notice there's a little bit of a weakness in the ridge of high pressure right here. So I think that enables this to move a little bit more northwest instead of taking this route down here. So even if this forms, does it affect land? We have no idea. We don't even know if this is going to form. But the GFS has came in very aggressive with just pretty much saying, hey, this is going to be tropical. This is going to be Fred. This is going to be the next named storm. What happens after that is a mystery. But I will mention the ridge of high pressure begins to build back on top of it. And this thing really begins to strengthen right here, kind of where Florence was in 2018. But we're getting about 10 to 12 days out at this point. But this is when it looks like it stalls out almost, as it looks like a front comes in right here, and then it gets caught in between a front, cold front moving over, a trough moving over the eastern U.S., and a ridge of high pressure right here, and then it gets stuck right here. And it just is basically a major hurricane well off the eastern coast of the U.S., not affecting land. But this is all the way in the August 19th, August 20th time frame. We look at the GFS ensembles here. Very interesting setup here. Notice all these little cluster ups. This is what the area of interest is that we're watching. You notice all these out in front of it. That's, the area of interest, the potential tropical waves that could form. But this is really the area of the watch here. Going through in time, and this is the latest 18Z GFS ensembles. Look at how they're clustered up. You notice the little numbers. It's going to be very hard to see on the screen, but where it says 96, that's a 996 low pressure. Then it has a 05, that's a 1005 low pressure. So the higher the pressure is, the weaker the storm. Keep that in mind. Notice all these little clusters up. All these little clusters right here begin to spread out a little bit as you get to the middle part of next week. So this is around this time next week. This thing is northeast of the Lesser Antilles, and it doesn't look like, as of now, that it's going to take that southern route. It looks like it's going to kind of grind the borders of this ridge of high pressure. And I tell you what, there's some pretty strong signals here of a stronger storm, but then again, it's very far out. It's hard to know, but this is as far out right now as the GFS ensembles is running, but there's still a cluster up even as we get into next weekend. You look at the latest European, I'm going to be very interested to see what it does overnight, but here it is. Here's that wave coming up. This is Saturday. This is this Saturday. You notice that the dark green, that is our whatever we have going on here. It looks like a tropical depression. European is definitely not as aggressive, but it keeps some kind of tropical energy, moisture, if you will, together. But one thing I will notice is a little bit more south than the GFS, but it kind of, in a nutshell, still takes kind of a similar path, right? So it gets going, and then it kind of eventually just dwindles away, but it's still putting it in kind of the same area as the GFS. So looking at this is the European ensembles. I like to show this on almost every video when I talk the tropics. It's the SpaghettiOs, and it's on weathermodels.com. But it's great to see. It's very hard to see probably on your screen. But there's a little bit of a weaker signal than probably the 12Z run yesterday. But it does show, in general, more systems potentially being in this area off the East Coast as opposed to anything getting into the Gulf. So it's a little bit more aggressive with things recurving. Now notice a lot today is showing it recurving, but first off, the first thing we need to figure out is if this thing's going to develop. Second thing we'll figure out is where it's heading, right? So we look at the Canadian. I tell you what, there's not much support of this on the Canadian. It shows that tropical wave forming as we get into the weekend. Pops off a low pressure, an L right there temporarily, but in general, it's a depression or a wave, and it basically just falls apart and never really gets going again. The icon definitely shows it. We're going here in time. I'm sorry I'm not talking correctly here, but here it is. Pops it off this weekend. Icon only goes out 120 hours, but it keeps that low pressure right here as we're getting into early next week, and keeps some kind of tropical moisture intact. It's not as aggressive as the GFS though. So let's switch away from talking about the models, and let's look at what do we have at base. So this basically depicts dry air and moisture, and basically more moisture air. So more tropical moisture versus dry air, right? So we're looking at this. Notice this is the area of interest highlighted on the National Hurricane Center right now. Basically, it's not going to form, but because it's just kind of jolted kind of north. But what it does is it puts a high moisture plume and creates almost an avenue for this stronger wave to come off the coast of North Africa. So you notice this is where that wave is, but this is where the moisture is out in front. Notice that there's some nice rich moisture, tropical moisture, just thanks to basically these waves sacrificing themselves almost, not literally, for this system. So it creates more of a moisture path for this because you have a good bit of dry air right on top of this. And I'm about to show you this. You have some Saharan dust breaking out almost at the exact same time as this tropical wave comes off North Africa. So that's actually going to be fighting the northern end of the circulation. I mean, check it out. So, unless this thing can get basically tightly round, very strong, and closes off its circulation, then dry air is probably going to have the potential to get wrapped up in it. And I think that's going to be the biggest weakness to this thing not forming. Notice this is around the same time. You can almost see the spin off the Saharan dust. Look at that spin. That is the tropical wave. But look at all the dust on the northern end of the storm. That's pretty cool. I didn't notice this when I was going through this before I started the video. But check out the spin right there. That is actually the tropical wave or tropical depression or storm, whatever's formed at this point, spinning the dust into the circulation. So you have to factor in that for sure. So with all that at play, we kind of can look at why is this thing wanting to kind of go more northwest as opposed to just straight west. Well, you look at this right here, and I mentioned this early in the video. This is the GFS. Well, no, this is the GEFS. So it's the GFS ensembles. Shows the system pop up. You can't see it anymore, but that system is right there. Notice as it's going here, there's a little bit more of a weakness right here. It's not much, but there's a little bit of a weakness. And at the same time, if a cold front sweeps through down here, it's going to be interesting. But the pattern of when this thing, whatever this is, will it be Tropical Storm Fred, will it be Hurricane Fred, will it be just a plume of moisture? What pattern in place out here, we don't know that yet. We need to figure out if this is going to form. But confidence is increasing that this will form. But we'll check it out. We don't know if it's any kind of threat to land right now, but it's going to be interesting moving forward what this is going to do. At the end of the day, the tropics are heating up. So definitely make sure y'all know that, and basically be paying attention to any kind of tropical forecast in the near future. You got a flying right in front of my screen. So thank y'all for tuning in, and I hope y'all have a blessed evening.